Terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu has been openly issuing terror threats to attack our parliament and the Air India flights and our stadium. Our temples in Canada are repeatedly desecrated. Hindus and Sikhs are attacked and heckled. They are beaten up for celebrating Diwali, and these Khalistanis repeatedly issue death threats to our diplomats as well. And now we're getting to know that there have been 3 hijacking incidents of Hindi cinema halls in different parts of Canada. And what is Trudeau doing? What is Joe Biden doing? They are giving safe havens to Pannu and the likes of him. They are shielding these terrorists. They are sending FBI teams to India to investigate into the alleged attempts to kill Pannu, who is a designated terrorist. I'm going to start my conversation with Ambassador Suresh Goyal. And Ambassador, how ironical is this, that on one hand, there are repeated incidents of hate crimes, terror crimes committed against Hindus, committed against Indians in Canada, in America as well. But none of these ministers, none of these heads of the states actually come out and speak about the matter, let alone take action on it.
Megha, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again really. I think while we must, of course, safeguard the interest of our nationals and citizens abroad, in whichever country it is, but the law and order situation in those countries is a matter to be dealt with by the governments of those countries. And we can continue to request them, but it is for them to be sensitive that eventually if they don't do it, they will come to harm, not us. So what is happening there now, for example, in Canada, people coming into the cinema hall, spraying something, spraying an aerosol, impacting on the breathing, etc., 200 people of Indian origin, but I assume they were of Indian origin, but they most of Canadian citizens. Watching the movie there, Bollywood movie in the hall, somebody spraying the aerosol, people coming to harm because of the aerosol. It is for the Canadian authorities to take action on this law and order situation. If they don't do it, we know what happens. If you encourage this kind of lawlessness, it comes to boomerang on them. It becomes a habit with these people for them to keep on doing so. Therefore, it is in their interest to take action against them. When we say that, we make it our own matter. And I think eventually we need to make a distinction between our nationals, our citizens, and the foreign nationals and the foreign citizens. USA would raise the finger to protect Pannu, because Pannu is an American citizen. But they would not raise a finger to protect Ramanna or anyone else in the country, even if somebody comes to harm, because they are not American citizens. They will come to safeguard any American citizen anywhere at all. They will come and kill Osama bin Laden because he did the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. If we have the capacity, and I'm not going to say anything beyond that, because frankly, it all depends upon how powerful you are and how strong you are. But if we are strong and if we have the capacity, we probably would do similar thing really. But we don't have to shout out about this. We don't have to make it a kind of a phenomenon that, look, here we are there. These are all quiet kind of things. Do it quietly without really making it a kind of a trophy in the hands. Megha.
I agree with you. Harinder Singh Sikka also on the telecast with me. And Harinder, my heart goes out to the Indians who are living in Canada especially, where the repeated attacks have taken place against them, taken place against Hindus, taken place against Sikhs, simply because they refuse to adhere to the terror policy, the terror agenda of Sikhs for Justice, of several of these Khalistani organizations that are emanating out of Canada, that at this point of time are also breeding grounds in America and some other parts in United Kingdom and some parts of Australia as well. Now, what is also an unhappy situation is, as Ambassador Goyal rightfully mentioned, that while we can at this point of time tackle a country like Canada, it's not so easy for us to go, straight up to America and tell them call a spade and tell them that Gurpatwant Singh Pannu is a terrorist, he is a designated one, there have been lookout notices, there are red corner notices issued against him, and the rightful thing for the Americans will have to be to return, to repatriate, to extradite Pannu and give it to India.
You see, somehow it's a strange thing one learns as one grows that we will refuse to learn from history. Repeatedly, we will do that. Not too long ago, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, she allowed jihadis, fundamentalists, despite the UAE minister's stern warning that this can have far-reaching, serious consequences. She did not. Germany is suffering today. Come to Canada, and so is Europe, many parts of Europe. Poland is safe. But majority of the Europeans have misread or did not understand or took German Chancellor on her face value. Come to Canada. Since the time I was born, I have never seen or heard of Canada going so low, stooping so low. One in number bad apple. I'm talking about Prime Minister Trudeau. He's brought such a bad name and bad karma for its own country. As many Canadians I've spoken to, be it Delhi, be it Toronto, be it in US, they are holding their head in shame. What kind of a man we have over there, and what do we do to get rid of him, and so on and so forth. What have you earned? Come to Khalistanis. And now, by the basic tenets and teachings of Guru Nanak, our job as a first and foremost is to serve, sacrifice for others. This is what Guru Gobind Singh Ji taught us. That's how Hindus are made Panch Pyaras, Sikhs. He became Sikh at the hands of those Hindus turned Sikhs. And that is how Banda Bahadur, who was a Bhardwaj, a Hindu, who killed the cruelest of the possible cruel people, the Wazir Khan. And the history is full of all this. Khalistanis are who? Khalis means pure. And pure they are not. Come to Pannu, of the Pannu's characters like Pannu. Now, when you have snakes inside and you serve them milk, there's a far-reaching consequences.
Okay.
These snakes, when you have a killer's instinct and you kill an enemy, that instinct never goes away. You are going to harm yourself or your kith and kin or your people you love so much. So America should understand that he's American citizen, yes, but American rights, American laws, American freedom does not allow such people to prosper at the cost of others.
Right.
And that diplomacy, I'm sure government is going hammer and tongs and making sure that this will happen. It's a matter of time. I have a faith in this present government for sure.
Okay.
That they will find a way.
Okay. Rubinder Sachdev, quickly a comment from you, particularly with regards to this appalling behavior that is seen, the hate crime, the terror crimes, and Justin Trudeau continues to justify it as a freedom of expression.
Thank you, Megha. A couple of things. One, I think, from what it seems to me, the likes of Pannu, the likes of folks in Canada, the extremists whom we call as extremists, they are being pretty smart, actually. What they're doing is that they're staying within the limits of the law of that country, let's say of Canada or the US, whatever that country's laws allow. Pannu, whatever he says, if he had been saying something which was absolutely, contravening American laws, he would be facing court charges as of now. He is not. He is not, because though we've been giving the Americans plenty of evidence about the crimes he has committed with respect to India, we say, right? But keep that aside. What he is doing within America, he is staying within the law, it seems, I would say. Similarly, this incident of spraying, the aerosol, this is actually a very dangerous something. It could have been a poisonous gas, by the way, right? So it depends how the law enforcement authorities in Canada will be able to haul up find out and arrest whosoever did it. But the point is that, are these guys doing or indulging in activities which carry a low sentence, even if they are arrested and prosecuted? Like, let's say, spraying graffiti. Spraying a graffiti, whatever it be. What are the charges in Canada or in the US? Whatever hate may be written on that graffiti, those are the charges. That will be it. That's it. I don't know, maybe 1 week, maybe community service of 30 days, maybe £100 of fine or $100 fine. Right. So these guys are testing the limits of their host countries or their countries. I mean, their citizens there, as Ambassador Goel absolutely said. And that country would have to look at it, because today, if it was these guys who could do it, this is like an innovation, I would say, in terror. This is spreading terror without doubt, right?
Right.
But it's an innovation, right? Spraying, aerosol within a cinema theater where you have so many people. Tomorrow, it could be taken up by some other extremist of some other ideology and with a poisonous gas, and they could have, have 200 people dead. Now, so as a consequence of this, would this mean that cinema halls in Canada would have to heighten up, raise their security levels? They would need to. Remember the case of the shoe bomber? There was this guy who flew from London to the US in the height of the post 9/11, who was carrying a bomb within the sole of his shoe and was trying to light a matchstick. And he was arrested in the nick of time by the air stewards or whatever. Consequent to that, all airports the world over, now you got to take off your shoes and all. So, I mean, within terror also, innovations, quote unquote, I'm just using the term innovations, inspire other innovations which lead to other, other incidents of higher, higher loss. So, but the Khalistani elements, my take is that, are doing whatever they're doing. They are doing mostly within the realms of a safe zone or a gray zone, wherein they cannot be hauled up in their countries by the law enforcement of those countries. And even if they're hauled up, probably, at least most of them, probably the charges would be, stone throwing. What could be the charges against you, right?
Right.
Sure.
What if it leads to stampede?
No, sure, whatever. No, agreed, sir. But the point is that there is a law in the country which they're flirting with. They know, it's the laws in these countries are agnostic, or be it, Khalistani, Islamic, Christian terrorists, Jewish terrorists, whosoever it is. That's what the laws in those countries are. So they are, to my sense, they're just flirting. So what's the law for graffiti?
Agreed.
Whatever it is.
Agreed, absolutely. Major Sivaj, when there was no action taken against these extremists, these hate mongers, terror mongers, when the Leicester, the temple desecration attacks on Hindus happened, the question about the Canadian authorities or the American authorities taking any action against these extremists, these terror mongers, is next to nil. The fact that our consulates have been attacked and, I don't know, warnings have been issued and these extremists have been let go of. So, what are the chances of the local public who's being attacked, the local Indians who are being attacked, are then, given justice and these miscreants are brought to book?
Absolutely. Megha, see, the two countries which we mentioned, Canada and US, basically the issues are different, and also the situation is slightly different in both countries. As far as Canada is concerned, Canadian government of Justin Trudeau is a minority government, and this government in fact is a laughable. The fact today they are not in control of Canada. They, just to remain in power, they have taken help of New Democratic Party of Jagmeet Singh, the 12 seats. And that person is a Khalistani activist and a Khalistani separatist. And that's why the Canadian government is very soft on basically Khalistani activists. And what they are doing is they are openly taking law in their own hand. I do differ that as far as Canada is concerned, the Canada is displaying double standard. It is closing its eyes on anti-India sentiments is in a big way, the way it has happened in the three studios or picture hall where the Indian movie was being shown. The 3% or 4 to 5% enter, they spray the aerosol, and then they manage to go out. Canada is supposed to be part of G7 countries. It's a developed country. Where is the police? Why no action has been taken? And they start telling the Hardeep Singh Nijjar has been killed by India without giving any evidence or proof. What happened to Sakhdul Singh, who has been killed by a Lawrence Bishnoi group which claims it? What happened to Karima Baluch? Have you carried out an investigation? It is the double standard of Justin Trudeau. Exactly, he is doing what his father had done in 1985 due to his complacency that Kanishka bombing took place when they were warned 2 months before that such a thing can happen. So again, he's playing with the fire. And what I feel is Justin Trudeau not realizing the damage he's doing with the relationship of Canada with India. And the free trade agreement is in cold storage. The relationship between India and Canada are the lowest ebb. So I suppose they must realize that. As far as US is concerned, I suppose the US is trying to be on the side of Canada. As far as US, one will say that they follow their own standards for their own terrorists. Now, if you ask US, what happened? Where did they kill Osama bin Laden? In Abbottabad. Where they have killed Al-Juhari? They have killed in Kabul. Where did they kill Major General Soleimani? They killed in Iraq. He was a Major General from Iraq. So, for your own good, you can do anything in the world. And when, you know, something happen of this nature, you start pointing finger toward India. India has nothing to do with it. It is your law and order which try to find out. We have not done it. It is in your soil. So I say, stop lecturing India. Start looking into it. Stop giving sermons to India. India is a democratic country. India is the fifth largest economy and fourth largest military. We are not going to listen to you now. We are going to act, not listen. I suppose that message is going loud and clear both to US and Canada.
Okay. Ambassador Goyal, quickly then, you know, if something of the sort was replicated in India, where there were Canadian nationals who were being attacked, if they were in a group or they were attending some event and there was these miscreants, these masked men who would then enter and spray aerosol, so much so that if there was an incident where there were posters that had been put out outside the Canadian High Commission, for example, where there are death threats being issued to the Canadian High Commissioner and other diplomats, and for that matter the American diplomats, or for that matter the UK diplomats living in India, living over here in Delhi, how would the reaction have been? What is it that these countries would have then asked the Indian government to do?
Megha, it will be best not to speculate on these kind of things really. But what I would suggest really here is, we need to keep things on separate tracks. As far as the law and order situation within these countries is concerned, it is their affair. They need to deal with it. If that law and order situation begins to impinge on our citizens in those countries, there are well-established means which we resort to address those issues. If, and now that's a big if the host countries, they do not address those issues, either to the Indian citizens, or if they do not address the situation arising from attacks on the diplomatic and the consular properties, then there are means again which are available to us. Do you remember that some time ago, when there was an issue with the US Embassy, we removed all the barriers on Myanmar around the US Embassy. And within 2 or 3 days, I think they came to understand our sensitivities in the matter. It's a matter of reciprocity, really. And therefore, if we do not get satisfaction from these countries on security of our diplomats, we have means available which we can resort to. We can do those things. There are dialogue. There is a matter of really, US is a strategic relationship. It's a very important relationship. And I think we need to really graduate our response in terms of the relationship level. Now, the EM himself has made a distinction between Canada and the USA. I mean, we are prepared to go to the extent with Canada. With the USA, our approach is going to be very, very different, really. So let us keep it at that level here.
Okay.
I think let us the diplomats and they will sort it out.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Harinder Sikka, do you agree with what Ambassador Goyal has to say? Has there been an equitable treatment that has been given to Indian nationals and particularly Indian diplomats in all these countries that I mentioned?
You see, reciprocity, it's easier said than given and done than practiced. Show me the face and I will show you the rule. This is how the developed world works. And this is how down the line it percolates. What did they do to Osama bin Laden? They went into a country without informing. They shot Osama and buried him under the water. Likewise, so many operations have taken place. Unknown men are killing Pakistanis, jihadis. Who's doing it, who's not doing it, nobody knows. But here is a state, United States of America, what it did to Osama bin Laden. The same America also did a similar operation on in the pretext of weapons of mass destruction. We did not find any WMDs, but 1 million people died.
Right.
Time and memorial. And we must understand that while what they will do, we need to take care of ourselves, our protection, our shores, our country. Poland has stood against entire Europe and said, no jihadi shall enter my territory, come what may. It was ridiculed. Poland was ridiculed. But Geert Wilders said nothing doing.
Right.
So you have every country, every head is responsible for its own state, for its own home affairs.
Okay. Okay. Rupinder Sachdev, then, one is a matter of these terror crimes, hate crimes, crimes of extremism that we witness on a regular basis. Now, another matter is about Gurpatwant Singh Pannu of the Sikhs for Justice and how there has been a number of these, statements that have been issued by the White House. There is a team that had arrived in India last week. There's another one that is going to be arriving in India tomorrow, next week. So, are we giving, are we taking a strong stand, and are we then emanating or resonating with the world the position of India when it comes to this allegation that has been put by the American agencies, by the FBI, and are we somewhere at this point of time yielding to what the Americans have to say vis-a-vis how our approach had been with the Canadian government?
Thank you, Megha. I mean, in a big picture, our response to the American charges which have been filed in the court is definitely different than our response to the charges by Canada, right? There's a difference. The Canadian charges were set out by the Prime Minister on the floor of the Parliament, quite an important fact to note, but without any evidence and saying that they have credible allegations or something like that, right? Whereas in the case of the US, here is a case which has been filed in the court in New York. I mean, there's a full charge sheet with plenty of details as to what is being charged. So definitely our response to the American is different than our response to Canada, and also for multiple strategic reasons. However, I'll quickly step back on one earlier thing that was being talked about with respect to Canada and Trudeau. My take would be that the problem we face in Canada is not only Trudeau. Trudeau is one, let's say, sample representative, and sure, he is the, standard bearer of this issue that we are facing. The issue in Canada is strategic, is systemic. If we think that Trudeau goes away and the Conservatives come to power, right? We think that Trudeau goes away, everything will be solved. On the floor of the House, the deputy leader of the Conservative Party, who happens to be a Sikh gentleman also, he very much went along exactly what Trudeau had said. And he spoke in favor of Khalistan. This is hardly days after the charge that Trudeau had made, in response to which the Conservative Party was kind of, giving its replies. So if we are to imagine that with Trudeau going, all these issues in Canada which are out there would be sorted out, I beg to differ. I think no, not at all. These are systemic, structural issues within the political system of Canada, definitely, yes. So that's one. But coming back to the Pannu issue, yes, it is a serious matter, and I think we can see it. The statements coming from our foreign ministry are also that it is a serious matter. We've taken note of the inputs and we are conducting an inquiry. So by saying that, India is definitely saying that what it is taking, what the Americans are saying with definitely the due regard, which in any case, mature nations should take each other's concerns with absolute due regard and due seriousness. So that's what we are taking. Now, it's a different matter as to how this whole investigation shapes up and what comes out of it. That's a different matter altogether.
Okay, Major Siraj, then how do we tackle, how should the Indian government tackle the Khalistan issue? It continues to aggravate, not so much in India, but at this point of time, our associations, when we took a look at what the farmer protests were all about, and there were these extremist elements, there were elements of Sikhs for Justice Khalistanis who were raking up and who were taking advantage of the protests.
Yeah, Megha, I certainly feel that the approach of India as far as US and Canada is concerned is slightly different. As far as Canada is concerned, we are now trying to put pressure on Canadian government diplomatically at a government level also. You cannot give a space to the basically anti-India sentiment and also the Khalistan movement. And these people are all your citizens, and law and order should be taken seriously by Canadian government. And in case if you allow a space to be given to terrorists, then you'll find that the relationship between India and Canada will go down south. So I suppose it is in the interest of both the countries that in case they want to build up the relationship, both are a democratic country, then Canada has to now understand it and will stop giving space to this terrorist, the Khalistani terrorists especially. The ISI also in a big way there in Canada. That is also is a cause of concern. As far as US and India are concerned, we are a strategic partner. We have a best of the relation with US today. We have signed 4 basic agreement which start from COMCASA, the Communication Compatibility and Security Agreement, then Logistic Exchange and Memorandum of Agreement, LIMU and BECA. And therefore, we believe and have a faith and confidence on each other. Even Nikhil Gupta, where they have laws and FIR and a case in the court, they have given some sort of evidence to India, and India has come up straight forward and telling them that they are ready to investigate. An investigation has been already ordered, which had not been done as far as the Canada case is concerned, because Canada given us no evidence, no proof. So as far as US is concerned, we are tackling that differently, but certainly we are telling our concern to the US government. The FBI team is here. You cannot follow double standard. You cannot give a space to a separatist like basically Gurpant Singh Pannu, who is now passing openly statement against the parliament of our country, against people cannot travel by Air India. Can you allow such sort of statement in India itself?
Yeah.
So therefore, accepting that it will not be correct. I suppose it may not be publicly announced, but at a government and diplomatic level, we will be bringing out this issue to FBI to make sure that he is sent back to India. I am sure, you have to put pressure. Okay. We are no more a pushover. Okay. Gone are the time when we used to say something and US/Canada can look to the other side. We are a force to reckon with.
So we are a force to reckon with, and the countries at this point of time are recognizing it as well. All right, I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.